Welcome, everybody, to Illuminate, Navigate, Radiate, a journey of emotional resilience. I'm your host, Brandon, and I have Anabel joining us for our last body image episode. So how you doing today, Anabel?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's always super early for me, and I know a little bit early for you getting on, but I've enjoyed doing this, and I just want to tell you again that I appreciate your time, and thank you for jumping on and joining me for this.
No, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's been, a few different episodes now of talking about the different things that can impact our body image, whether that's social media or different things said to us, and how that can kind of play a role in how we see ourselves, as well as then how that affects, our daily decisions throughout life, right? Like what we choose to do, and different ways that influences, like maybe certain risks we may take, or different chances we may take, and there that plays such a big role in our lives, right? The way we view ourselves, the way we feel about ourselves, especially physically. That's like what everybody sees. That's almost what everybody judges you on in that first impression. So it plays such a big role. And what we wanted to do for this final episode is just talk about some positive things that we can do to work on that, right? Some different things that we can try in our lives to boost our body image, or even just take it off our mind so much, because in the end it really doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's not such a huge thing as long as what we've hit on before, as long as we're healthy and we're able to do the things we want to do. That's really not even, that's like the smallest part of our life and our existence is what we look like. And so we just want to talk about some of those things that we could add to our lives, to work on our self body image, but also different ways that we can help other people work on theirs. And so I think just one way to kind of kick that off, that we can work on ourselves and help others work on it, is just the way we talk to ourselves, right? The language we use, the phrasing that we use, that positive self-talk can play such a big role. So what are your thoughts, Anabel, on like just the way you talk to yourself, and the way you treat yourself when it comes to that idea of positive self-talk?
Well, I would say that is probably the most important aspect of like trying to better your self-image is the way you speak to yourself. Because if you're constantly, because you know how I mentioned before, like you live in your head, you live in your brain, you live in your head. So if the place that you live in is constantly negative and constantly judging yourself based on things that, like you said, that genuinely don't really matter, that are going to be left behind regardless, wherever you go next, it's going to be left behind. So like having this negative space in your head constantly is just going to be constantly surrounded you with negativity, and then that cycle starts where you can't get out of it. So it's the most important aspect about like trying to make yourself better in that sense. You get what I mean?
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, sorry. But yeah, so if you don't speak to yourself nice in your head, you're not going to have a nice experience. You're not going to, and we mentioned a lot of the things in the past episodes, but you're not going to have a positive life, especially outlook on what the things that you do and the things that you think you deserve.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with just, if it's constantly negative towards yourself, then that's just gonna spill out into every other aspect of your life, and it's really gonna be hard to be happy if everything in your mind, or everything that comes out of your mouth about yourself is a negative thing. It's gonna be really hard to ever truly be happy, and I think that's a big part of it. And sometimes it's obviously hard in our own head, right? Like, because we're not hearing those, we're just like, it's just spinning in our head at times, the way we view ourselves, or our insecurities are just amplified in our head. So I think sometimes, even with that positive self-talk, just saying it out loud, like even if you gotta lie to yourself just a little bit, like compliment yourself looking in the mirror if that's what you need to do, but just be kind to yourself, and say that out loud. I think that's a big part of it is when you can say it out loud, it really adds to it. Like, oh yeah, I like the way I look, or I feel comfortable with the way I look, or I'm healthy in my body, and being able to say those things out loud, and especially when you can then say them around other people is a really good practice because it can help build that confidence. Um, Whether you have to force yourself in that moment to say it, like you're looking in the mirror and you have to force yourself to say something positive. If you do that like constantly and start building that habit, that's what can help you like start having that positive body image in your mind. And I also think
Yeah.
that when you say that stuff out loud, it plays a part for other people as well. And I think about that because with having two young kids, you know, my wife and I are aware of like what we say about ourselves out loud, right? Because we don't want to be negative to ourselves because we don't want our kids to do that either. We don't want them to view themselves or start thinking negative things about themselves at such a young age. And so I think like even saying that out loud can have an influence on those people around you and giving them some encouragement and motivation to be positive about themselves.
Yeah. And I feel like it also, when you confidently speak about yourself and other in front of others, it also like builds that level of like respect towards you to some extent. Not everybody, not from every person, obviously, but when you speak of yourself highly in front of people, other people will also think of you highly. Obviously, not everybody, but do you get what I'm trying to get at? Like they will start respecting you because they see that you respect yourself. So so they see that you only appreciate respect not from yourself but from others as well. You get what I mean? So it works both ways. And also one thing that I wanted to say, like, about the talking out loud. When I was going through all of this, like even to this day, I still find it a little bit hard to say these things out loud. And sometimes I like cringe at myself when I try to say it out loud, like especially, when you sit down in front of the mirror and I start like saying affirmations, and I just I kind of cringe. I laugh at it. So it's good to speak about it, but personally for me, what helps me, I think, is even like post-it notes, just post-it notes having around your house, just so you see it all the time around you everywhere you go. um yeah, I wanted to say one thing for your first point, but now I forgot. So it's okay, you continue.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good like alternative approach to it as well because there's still that positive self-talk, but it helps you do it in a way that's more comfortable for you,
Yeah.
right? With doing the little notes or the sticky notes, or I've even seen some people, write with a marker on their mirror, so that way when
Mm,
they look in their mirror, that's the type of stuff they're seeing. And so I
yeah.
think those little things are what people need to try, right? Because it does feel cringy sometimes to to say that stuff to yourself, and so if you're really struggling with that, don't just give up. Write that on your mirror, write that on a sticky note somewhere where you're always going to be walking past in your house, so that way you don't have to say it out loud, but then you can at least read it. Then
Yeah,
you still get that reminder of it.
exactly. Like it's in your head. It's going to be in your head, especially if you're always surrounded by these like little notes, little positive quotes and stuff. Like the biggest thing, what helps me is like having little quotes around. Just little like quotes. I don't know. I don't even know what kind of quotes. It can be like three, two words, but just having them on my notebooks, like as stickers everywhere, like that really, like you don't even realize it, but subconsciously you do, so it builds it up. And one thing about the writing, like if post-it notes don't help you, write in a journal, write, have your own private personal journal that only you get to read. So these are the things, like I'm speaking from experience, these are the things that helped me, because I used to be that person that would cringe, and at people that journal, I'd be like, oh, why are you writing in a journal? But now I get it. I get it now. And it took me a while to kind of understand what actually journaling can benefit you with. And one thing, I remember what I wanted to say in the before, but never mind. No, I forgot. Never mind. I'm trying to no, because
It
I'm trying to
happens.
properly
It
phrase
happens
it, and I
early.
can't. It's too
It happens
hard.
early in the morning, definitely. But yeah, no, I think like what you said with just the journaling or the writing can play such a big part. And not only just what we're saying, but I know one thing that like you're big about, because even before we started talking about doing this, you talked about it in the journey segment about you that we had, where I thought it was super cool to hear you say it just in that moment when we were first talking, but that you get to move your body, right? it
Mm.
it wasn't about like, oh, I'm trying to get skinnier or I'm trying to look a certain way. You like a lot of your language that you use, at least from our conversations and what I've seen you talk about, is that it's almost like a privilege almost, or it's almost like a gift to get to move your body. And I think that's a really positive way to look at body image and take that in. Is it's not like promoting, oh, you got to diet, you got to lose weight, but no, I get to go and I get to go hike, or I get to go to the gym for a little bit, or I get to go run a little bit. So why, like, I mean, did you always have, I mean, I know you didn't always have that mindset, but how did you kind of start developing that mindset? Because again, it's something that I've really appreciated hearing while we've had these conversations and just talking to you in general.
So the biggest thing that helped me for my body image was definitely the gym. So I've always been quite like an athletic kid, but I never approached it when I was younger, especially. I never really approached it in the sense of, oh, I need to change the way I look. I need to do these sports because I want to look skinnier. When I was younger, I genuinely did it because I enjoyed it. So that enjoyment is still with me to this day. Every day, like I've always loved like basketball. I've played for 12 years. I've loved basketball. I love team sports, track and field events. Like I've always loved them. So, and then as soon as I became a bit older, obviously I started worrying about my body image, and that's when I started trying to go to the actual gym. But back then I was doing cardio, I was on the treadmill, I wanted to get abs, I wanted to be super skinny everywhere except my butt, the typical. And that's when like my body image like declined, binge eating, everything, all of that started. And then as I got older, when I was, I think 3 years ago, I I started dating my current partner, and he was into weightlifting. So he kind of introduced me to weightlifting in the gym, not just cardio, not what the usually how girls start in the gym. And then I slowly starting like transitioning into weightlifting, and then that's when like my world completely just flipped upside down. This is when exactly when I changed my social media like completely, who I follow, who I see, which like the kind of people basically that I follow. I deleted so many people, and that's when like all of the positive, like the positivity came in, the seeing other girls post their unposed natural bodies. And so it was the combination of changing my surrounding on social media and having a different approach for the gym. So back then I wanted to be skinny, whereas now I realize like it's a privilege to be able, like what you said earlier, it's a privilege to move your body, and you you get to move your body. That is the most important thing, because we have a body to move. So when I realized the simple fact that you know you should train, you should be healthy, you should be fit, not for to look a certain way, but to be healthy, to be able to pick up your grandkids when you're 60 years old, to be able to wipe your own butt and get off the toilet when you're 80. These are the things that I I started focusing on, instead of do I have abs today or not? Am I bloated today? It's like slight things like this, but the biggest thing was the gym for sure.
Yeah, no, and I think just like hearing that messaging creates such a positive mentality around that, right? Because I see those, like those commercials or those different ways, and it's like, oh, diet and do this and get ripped and be happy, and people will love you and you'll be successful, and you see that, and it's like, then you look at yourself and you're like, this is depressing. But when you frame it and when you talk about it in that way of just being able to get up and do those certain things, play with my kids or be a little more active or be able to go on a walk and not be exhausted after 5 minutes, but just being able to do those things to where I can get out and about and feel good about it. I think it's such a healthier way to do it, and I think more people can be more comfortable with that mindset, because like just thinking about dieting or different ways that I've done things, if you're getting if that's the mindset you have, if you go a certain amount of time and you don't see the results that you think you should be seeing, it's a way easier to give up. Whereas if you go up a flight of stairs and you're out of breath, and that next time you go up that flight of stairs you're not out of breath, you might not see that results, but you feel the results.
You
And so when
feel
you
it.
talk more about the feeling of it, I think that is so much easier to maintain that healthier lifestyle and just feel better about yourself. Like, oh yeah, maybe I don't have, an 8 pack like that person, but I can run a lot longer than that person. I can do more things than that person. I just might not look that certain way.
Exactly. And also the biggest thing with the gym is that I realized how, obviously I'm not talking about people that have like health conditions, I'm talking about the
Oh yeah.
general public. Um, I realized how easy it is for your body to change. It's incredibly easy. Like I can literally lose like 5 kilos in 2 weeks. I know it's unhealthy, but like you can change your body drastically in the span of even a month, 2 months. So if I can easily lose this weight, I can easily gain this weight. So, and by the way, like at the end of the day, your weight fluctuates every day, every day, every couple of minutes it fluctuates. So that's why, like, that one of the biggest things is I stopped weighing myself. I stopped weighing myself because I know this is like a big like thing, for women especially, and I think for some men as well. But like how much you weigh, the gravitational pull that the earth has on you. Why do you care how much you weigh? Going back, as long as you are healthy, and I'm not talking about like BMI scales or indexes, no, because those, I'm not gonna lie to you, those are all bullshit. They're not, they don't tailor for everybody. They do not tailor for everybody. So don't like look at a specific number or whatever. Just as long as you feel good, as long as you go to a doctor and you know you're healthy, you know you're fine, that is the only thing you should focus on. And what you said, like how maybe this guy has a six pack, but I can run better. Like there's always things that you are better at than others. So yeah, just stop comparing yourself to others. Stop like comparing your weights. It's these little things, they genuinely don't matter. As long as you can do the things that you need to do, that's all you should care about.
Yeah, and I think that's so empowering when you put it that way, when you start really applying that to yourself. And I being a recovering heroin addict, I definitely saw my body fluctuate so much from whether I was using hard drugs or whether I was just smoking weed and having the munchies, and I saw that all the time. So I think that I seeing my body fluctuate so much definitely had that impact on the way I viewed myself as well.
Yeah.
But I also want to like add to what you said with social media, because I think that's another way. Maybe not even just social media, but media in general. Obviously, social media is a bigger aspect of life nowadays. But um, how you mentioned unfollowing and then following certain people, right? And because they were promoting a certain thing that was healthier for you and more positive for you. Um, And I think that's a big part of working on body image too. You know, if everybody you follow is they're just showing off, you know, this certain body type that maybe just doesn't work for you, then yeah, you might constantly be comparing yourself to that. But if you're showing off, if you know, there was a post you did, and I know I pointed it out to you a couple weeks ago, where you did that. You know, you showed like you know the certain angles or lighting or the certain way you pose, and then just like natural. And I thought that was so beautiful and so amazing because you know it when you do that side by side, it really helps people understand like oh, that literally split second of that image is not what that person looks like 24/7. And so even if I'm comparing myself to that, I'm comparing myself to a, you know, whether it's photoshopped or not, but an image that's staged to look a certain way.
Exactly.
And I think that is so important to where if you just, you know, if you tailor your consumption of media to a more positive messaging, that can play a big role on your mindset and how you feel about yourself as well.
Yeah, and it's not just media, it's the people that you surround yourself with as well.
Mm.
It's everything. And obviously you can't control everything. Like you can't control the billboards that you see, you can't control the ads you see on TV. But like you can control the people that you speak to. You can't control the actual information that you not only absorb but think about, dwell about, you know, for in the future. You control that aspect. You control what you think. So my biggest piece of advice is definitely like clear out your social media. Definitely clear out your social media. And if somebody is showing unrealistic expectations and making you feel bad about yourself because someone else is showing their life, which is unrealistic again, then delete them. You don't need the kind of people. This is like what I did is I started following, obviously because I wanted a fitness page, but I didn't realize how much positivity was in these like women's fitness pages. So now like I've literally I don't even follow people that I went to school with. I've unfollowed all of everybody, literally everybody except my close friends, and only positive like fitfluencers, women that actually show realistic things and that are relatable. That's the biggest thing, that are actually relatable, that people can relate to and that I can relate to. And the same thing goes with the people that you surround yourself with. People that support you, that love you and relate to you. These are the only people that you need in your life. Everybody else, even like no matter this has nothing to do with even body image, but why would you even want to surround yourself with people that are not good for you? Full stop, you know.
Yeah, no, I think that that all plays a role, right? Because it all influences the way we think.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the way we feel about things, the way we view ourselves. And I like that you use the word relatable too, right? I think that's important as well because if I'm following a bunch of guys who are able to spend 5 hours at the gym each day and do certain things, that's not relatable to me because I don't I work a full-time job, I got two kids, I got other things I got to take care of, and so that's not a realistic thing for me. But if you know, I follow somebody that just stays healthy by like, oh yeah, you know, I'm juggling all this, but I do these small workouts when I can, or I spend 30 minutes here or 30 minutes there, and I do it 3 or 4 times a week, and that keeps me to be able to play with my kids, and that keeps me to be able to get around and feel good at the end of the day, and not be exhausted after work or not be exhausted after doing something small. And I think that's a really big part of it too, is being able to relate to what you're seeing as opposed to like just something that I can't even just I wouldn't even be able to manage it. And if I did spend 5 hours at the gym, then I wouldn't have time for anything else in my life. And so you know, I would just be
Yeah.
off balance the other way. Um but yeah, it's so important like what we surround ourselves with, like you just said, not just body image, but everything,
Everything.
right? You know, positivity or negativity or different viewpoints or mindsets on the world. Like it's important that we surround ourselves with the things that are going to make us feel good, push us to be the best that we can, and just be a positive environment for ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, and I think another way that you know we can do that for the people around us is point those good things out about them, right? Giving compliments that aren't just necessarily like, oh, you look good today, or you look pretty, or that outfit looks great on you, but really commenting on, who they are as a person. I see how you treated that person, and that was really awesome. Or I like your honesty in that moment. Or, I appreciate your perspective on the world because it shows that you care. Really
Mhm.
complimenting those things that really make up a person, I think can show people that there's more to them than just their looks. Because if you only got compliment on your looks, then yeah, of course you're going to be a little bit more body conscious because that's all you think people are seeing in you. But if you start getting more compliments on just the way you carry yourself, the way you smile, the way you treat people, like, then you start realizing, oh, okay, this is actually what people are noticing more, not,
Yeah.
what I look like in this shirt or these pants.
And these are the compliments that people will actually think about for the rest of their life, and they're going to be remembering. Because a compliment that's, oh, you look pretty today, you look nice today, oh, I like your outfit, that compliment is going to be forgotten, what, maybe at max a day? Max a day. Whereas if somebody compliments the way that you care about your plants, I don't know, care about your child, care about your house, or care about yourself, just the way that something that is not physical, basically, people will think about this and remember this probably for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? It's a bigger impact. It's much more impactful. And it's just, it's, I don't know, it's nice to make someone else feel nice. And the biggest thing, I think, because I struggle with this also sometimes, is not to focus as an individual as well, not to focus on physical aspects of other people, because it's like a habit. When you see your friend, you're like, oh, I like your outfit today. And I want to stop focusing so much on the physical as well. I'm guilty of this as well, but it's with time, with practice. But yeah, like, I want to stop complimenting people on how they look or how they dress, and instead compliment them. Oh, uh, I don't know, like, I really appreciate the way that you, like, helped me out for with this. Like, that is much more impactful, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's natural, right, to want to compliment somebody on the way they look if it stands out to us. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. I just think like we could do that more, right? We could do
Yeah.
both of them more. Where I think it's almost accepted, or it's more natural to just be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I like what you're wearing, I like what you did with your hair, I like, whatever that may be, because you just see it right away and it's in your mind. Where it's not always, as sometimes you got to go more out of your way to talk about like thanking somebody
Yeah.
for what they did or an action, and it might not feel as natural. It's just like when you see your friend for the first time that day, you're like, oh, you look really good today. Where it's just like it's just a natural thing. So I think it helps us point out more than just that physical aspect of things. And I think that's, physical things are pointed out so much in every way. I think the more we can incorporate that in our lives is just going to help us, feel better, and help others feel better around us. Because like, I was thinking about what you just said with that compliment thing, and you know I'm thinking about some of the biggest compliments I've received in my life, and they had nothing to do with the way I looked. Like,
Yeah.
coaching soccer, I've had a couple parents, just message me randomly and just be like, hey, I appreciate that you care. I appreciate that, you care more about my kid just being a soccer player and them actually like growing as a person.
Mm.
Like those are the things that, like, I've teared up reading. Or like when a former player says something to me just about the impacts I had on them, that means so much more than anything else. And so I think that can just be something we can all continue to work on, because I think, it's hard in a physical world, not to point that stuff out at times. But it's something that we can just be conscious of, and do our best to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Um, so
Like,
there's a lot. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, no, I was just gonna say, like, I
Yeah.
think both are important, but definitely we should, like, in the world that we live in, we definitely need to focus more on the not physical compliments. I agree, definitely.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and
keep
then
going.
No, and then just take a compliment, right? Sometimes when somebody gives you a compliment, you sit there and be like, "No, you're lying," or,
Just take
"That's
it.
not true." Yeah, like accept it.
Shut up and take it.
Enjoy it for a moment. Live in that compliment for a moment. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, I know I haven't always been good about that. When somebody says something good about me, especially when I was in really bad moments of my life, I was just like, no, you're just saying that, you're lying. Where now when somebody compliments me, I really try to, consciously tell myself that that's real, that's true, that's not a lie, they're not just saying it, whether they are or not. I'm taking it as in it's real and it's true, and using it to say, okay, I am doing something good or positive.
And this goes back to like the point that I said, like it doesn't matter what they say. What matters is how you take it. That's
Mm,
the most important thing. So
yeah,
even if
no,
they're like
I love
joking with you, or even if they're lying to you, whatever, like just what you said, like fake it till you make it,
that.
believe in it. Who's stopping you? Like
Mm,
I know this is funny, like I see this on social media and stuff, like girls TikTok, but like be delusional. Who's stopping you from this whole world? The world that we live in is delusional, full
yeah, I was
stop.
about to say, yeah.
So just why not? you know
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. But yeah, no, and I think, just kind of lastly, there's a lot of like little things we just talked about, but I think just, overall having those conversations more can be an impactful thing. And I know that's why, we kind of talked about doing this one with some other ideas as well, but we went with this one just because like having that conversation just puts that out there a little bit more. There's so much that pushes the physical, material lifestyle and focusing on that. And that's what's going to bring you happiness. Where really, if you're just healthy and you're being who you want to be, that stuff doesn't matter. And so I think the more we can have that conversation, the more we can have honest conversations surrounding it, can help people realize that, like, yeah, all this that you said it in the beginning, like you're gonna leave all this behind anyway, right? No matter where you go, no matter what you think that next step is after life, you're leaving all that behind. And the only thing that's gonna be left is those memories or the way people talk about you. And so for them to say like, oh, this person had that impact on me, and this person meant that to me, that's going to be that lasting aspect, not like the nice car in the driveway, or I I don't think I've ever talked about my grandparents, oh, they were really fit, they were attractive, they had good
yeah.
bodies. No, they were good people. My grandma helped to raise me because she lived with us for the longest time. And just like things like that, I think is the lasting impact. And so the more we have those conversations, the more we can help people realize it's not that in the moment instant gratification of, those the either the certain body type or the nice things as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. Like what you said about the grandparents, like that's no, but that's so true. Like even if there's somebody that bullies you for the way that you look, so what? Who like if like as soon as you get them out of their life, out of your life, did your life change? Like did anything happen? Did anything change? No. And like even if these kind of people will remember you for how you look, you're not gonna even remember them. Like
Hmm.
you're gonna forget about them. So why even care? Like I think we need to be a bit more selfish in that sense. In the world that we live, we definitely need to be a little bit more selfish when it comes to our own peace of mind. So focus on yourself is what I'm saying. Focus on yourself and stop comparing. Like I know we've mentioned this so many times before, but there's no point in comparing yourself because you're never going to be identical. Never.
Yeah. And it doesn't do you any good, but just as we get close to wrapping up here, just with that focusing on yourself aspect, And I like that you said focus on yourself for that peace of mind, right? For that peace within you. Because when you have that focus on yourself to bring peace within, you're going to be so much better for the people around you. You know, it just adds so much to those relationships and so much to life, as well as, you know, just a comparison thing. There's so many things to compare yourself to when in reality you should just be focused on your true self, your authentic self, and being you. Because if we were all the same, like this world would suck.
Yeah, like why would you wanna look the same as every other person?
Right.
Why
I
would
don't
you
even
want to
know what
stand
it would
out?
be.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It'd be like
that's
a herd of sheep everywhere,
yeah,
like identical.
right. Just like walking around, eating our grass and going into the barn
No, but
after it all.
yeah, exactly. One thing actually, before we finish the call, I want to say one thing that I kind of was struggling a little bit when I was younger, self-image wise, is my height.
Mm.
I was a bit like I wasn't as self-conscious about my height as I was about my body, but I've always been quite like tall. I'm what 5'7", 5'7.5" to be exact, actually. But I'm 5'7", and I've always been like above. I've always been like a little bit above most girls in my class, basically. And now that I'm older, I want to be even taller. I love the fact that I'm taller than like most girls because it makes me stand out.
Mm.
Like it makes me stand out, and sometimes I'm like, oh, stop staring, but other times I'm like, yes, But I changed the way that I view these things, and instead of being a negative thing, I think it's the one thing that makes me stand out.
Yeah,
So
no, I think that's such a good way of looking at that, right? Of we could always compare ourselves to want to fit in and look like everybody else. But if we can own those things that we feel special about or that make us maybe a little bit different or make us stand out a little bit, you know, it's that whole thing of standing out in a world that wants you to be in that like a box of a certain way. And
exactly,
to be able to stand out and be you in those moments is what's going to bring you happiness because that you know you always wishing you looked a certain way or you know fit in with a certain group or a certain type um it's just gonna it's just gonna lead you to negative mindsets and negative life and you're not gonna be very happy at the end of it.
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, so you know, again, you know, I hope somebody took something positive away from, especially this one. I thought there was a lot of little good tips that we can use in our lives to work on. And it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to be able to do them all. You're still gonna, you know, fall short in trying some of those, and that's okay. That's what happens as long as we keep trying, right? As long as we keep trying to grow.
Yeah,
That's the important aspect of it. So again, Annabelle, thank you for joining us.
thank you for having me. It was a pleasure as always.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed chatting with you. We'll probably have to do something again sometime soon coming up. Except this time I'm gonna make you stay up late and, and film it at a different time. Uh, but no, again, you know, I really appreciate you taking the time. I've really enjoyed our conversations and had a lot of fun with it. So thank you again.
No, thank you so much. It was, I really, I remember I messaged you saying this, but I'm really happy that there's people like you, and I like to think like me, that are trying to make the social media place more positive and just more relatable and more welcoming, which that's why I said yes to this. So, and I'm going to continue saying yes if you
Yeah.
have any ideas. So,
Well, yeah, no, I love that. I think we can do better in that world, especially because of um how it really is just it's part of life now. You know, whether you want to accept that or not, it really is a huge extension of life. And so I think when we can try to bring those different positive aspects to it, I think that's something that we can continue to work on as a society to make that spot a safer, a more comfortable spot for a lot of people. So, you know, I would agree that you do that, especially, you know, like I said, with that, if you haven't seen that post, definitely go check it out. I thought that was that's a really powerful one and definitely appreciated. Um,
thank you.
but yeah, This has been fun. I've had a great time on this series. And until next time, it's been Illuminate, Navigate, Radiate. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye bye.